My name is Christina Ann Iafano. I am 28 years old. I'm Caucasian, and I have two jobs. My first job is mechanical drafting at a facility that manufactures power plants. I do drawings for them in SolidWorks and AutoCAD. And my second job is at a licensed home bakery where I do cakes on the side. This is my workspace here at my home. This is the big island that I have where I get to roll out all the fondant and ice everything. This is my convection oven that I purchased so I can bake on all three racks. It's a huge time saving tool for me. Sink, mixer. This is it. This is where everything happens. All the cakes are produced right here. They're iced here. They're covered in fondant here. All my little modeling stuff, it's done right here. I would definitely consider myself type A personality. There is a specific way to do things, and it has to be done this way. I'm very organized. I would consider myself outgoing, quick-witted. I tend to be a little reserved when I first meet someone because of the quick-wittedness. I don't really want to hurt people's feelings intentionally, but once I get to know someone and I know that they can joke around, then I'm very outgoing. A little bit of a gossip, if it's really juicy. I asked my husband and my mother-in-law, who I would say is my closest friend and my toughest critic, and they both immediately said type A personality, which I already admitted, and extremely competitive, very competitive. Everything in our household is turned into a competition. I asked my husband what my best and worst quality was, and he said they're both the same. I am very meticulous and very organized, which is a good thing, but it kind of drives him crazy because I make him do things in a specific way, and he says it can get kind of annoying sometimes. But there is a right way to do it, and it has to be done that way. Indecisive people kind of drive me crazy. I like when people have a plan. Loud people. I come from a very quiet family, and loud people kind of annoy me after a while too. And pushy people. I'm independent and I don't like to be pushed around and told what to do. I can make up my own mind. I'm an only child. I was mostly raised in Florida, and then I spent a small amount of time in Kentucky, and then I finished up in Ohio. We're a really close-knit family since there's only 3 of us. I never see my parents, but we're a close-knit family. We talk a lot on the phone. But we're a pretty close family, and they're really supportive with everything that I do, like with the cakes or with my regular day job. They're always supportive if I ever need anything. When I moved to Ohio, I'm not used to winters being from Florida, and I pretty much never want to go outside for the months of November through April. So I wanted to come up with some sort of indoor hobby that I could do, and I've always liked to cook and bake, but to be honest, I could not decorate a cake, couldn't ice a cake, nothing. So I decided that that was something I wanted to improve in, and the winter months that I didn't have anything to do gave me a chance to really practice on that. If I ask for someone's opinion, I would say that I react well to criticism because I want it. If I don't ask for someone's opinion and they give it to me, it tends not to go so well. I would say I relate most to Nadine on Next Great Baker Season 2. I think we have similar personalities, but she was not quite as cutthroat as I am. She was a little bit nicer than I am in the same kind of situations. I would say that my work is better than the previous contestants on Season 1 and 2. Whenever there would be little clips shown of the contestants along with their work, I'd always think, my cakes look better than that. So yeah, I would say that my work is better. I do focus a lot on weddings. I know some of the contestants have never even done wedding cakes, and I do quite a bit with sugar flowers. So I would say that my work, especially on that end, is a higher end product than what they have produced. When I first wanted to get into cake decorating, I started with taking the Wilton classes because it was convenient for where I am. They're locally taught. So I took that, and then there's a cake exhibit up in Cleveland every year called the Art of the Cake Show, where different teachers come in every year, and every year I do take classes up there. Other than that, I have no experience except for being self-taught. One of the cool experiences that I've been able to have for cake decorating was I was published in the September 2011 issue of Cake Central magazine. I have 2 cakes in here. This one's one of them. And then on the next page, this is the second cake that I did for the magazine. I've been doing this now professionally for 5 years. I do a wedding every weekend from about April through October, and then it does slow down through the winter months here. We live in the snow belt. Not a lot of people get married. So during that time period, I will pick up more anniversary cakes and things like that. But the summer months are when it's very busy. I had a 9-tiered cake that I did for a bride, and what made it difficult was it would have a large cake, and then it would have a smaller cake, and then a larger cake, and then a smaller cake as it went up. And once it got to the top, it was more difficult to keep it from being wobbly, especially because they had it set up on the dance floor, which is hollow. So every time someone would get close to it, it would want to shake. So that was the most difficult one that I've had to design. With my bakery, I offer over 40 different cake flavors and fillings. And I have a combination list that kind of helps brides or different clients pick what combos go together. I would say that I definitely like more outside of the box flavor combinations, because just the plain old white cake, fruit filling, kind of everyone's done that. And I like for guests to walk away from an event really remembering the cake. I'm not really big into baking bread. I don't have a lot of experience with it. I have a bread machine that I have used twice. So I really don't have a lot of interest in bread baking. When I get to pick the design, I try to make it really big and bold. Sometimes people's budgets aren't really in line with that, so it tends to get toned down a little bit. But I really like to do a lot of little detail work on things. I like to make my own little sculptures. I think it really ties in the cake really well and makes it personable for each client. Outside of cake decorating, I don't really have any hobbies except reading, and that is so not interesting. Most of my recipes are trial and error. And 24 pounds later, we have recipes. I do have one recipe that comes from my grandma on my dad's side, and then my peanut butter pie comes from my grandma on my mom's side. Everything else is just a little here, a little there. I gotta keep trying it. I really like bold flavors. So every time I do something, I really try and make that flavor stand out. Whether it's my pumpkin cake or my lemon cake, I really want the fresh ingredients to be the main focus of the cake. When it comes to baking, I would say that my level of expertise would be on the more expert end of things. For decorating, when it comes to wedding cakes and things of that nature, I would say that my level of expertise is more on the expert side of things. When it comes to the massive cakes that Buddy makes, I would say not so much. I do quite a bit of cookies. I don't do a lot of puff pastries. It's because I'm a custom bakery. It's not really something I get a lot of calls for, so I don't have a lot of experience for that. I tend to make more just custom decorated cakes. I always make sure that I have a very strict schedule that I adhere to, because I like to get the cakes done the night before in case there's any mishaps. I can fix it with plenty of time. But there's always a deadline. Always. Doesn't matter when it is, the cake has to be done. So I would say I work really well. I have never once been late to a delivery. When I get stressed out, I tend to get a tiny bit frazzled. I break out in hives and I sweat. I am always happy with the end result, even when I'm under time constraints, because I will stay up and make sure it is done correctly, even if it means doing it over and over and over. But that end result has to be perfect. In my opinion, someone that makes a great cake decorator is someone who really understands how to work with clients to make sure that they are going to get exactly what they're envisioning. I think it helps if you're a creative person, because there are so many different ideas out there for cakes. And a lot of times people aren't knowledgeable on this, and so you kind of got to steer them in the right direction. So that way they get something that's really unique and built for them. What makes a bad cake decorator is people that can't decorate cakes, like on cakerex.com. It's just bad. And pushy people. Because then I don't think your client gets what they really want, because you're just forcing them to have a certain design. I think I will handle the quick fire challenges very well. I'm very competitive and I adapt pretty easy. So if something's thrown at me that I'm not prepared for, I can usually take it in stride, and yeah, I might break out in hives because I will be stressed, but I can keep going with it and I'll just make it work. Working in teams can be a little bit of a struggle at times. I like to be in charge. So if someone else is in charge, but they're a good leader, I have no problem with that. You know, I work for a corporation and I'm not the boss. I have a boss, but he's a really good one, so it's not a problem. But when you get people that don't really know what they're doing and they're trying to manage people, I kind of have a tendency to just take over because I feel like it's not being done right. My strengths, I would say that I'm detail-oriented, and I have dealt with a lot of different types of customers and clients over the past several years. It's kind of helped me grow and help me to know how to direct them to make sure we all get a happy end result. My weaknesses, I would say, well, I like things done a very specific way, which can be a good thing, but it can be a bad thing too. You know, there's a certain kind of quality to work that has to be done, whether it's cakes or dishes or laundry or anything. And I can get kind of snippy when it's not done a certain way. I would say I tend to be, well, definitely the competitive one, that's for sure. If there's a game going on, I always play to win. I am outgoing. So when I'm with people, I'm always joking around. I tend to lead a group in conversation whenever I'm with my friends. I wouldn't say I'm domineering or anything like that. I don't know what they would say, but I wouldn't say that. But I would say that I tend to be more of a leader in the group. I am very competitive in nature. Everything can be turned into a competition. It doesn't matter what it is. My family is a big gamer. Not video games, but board games. More obscure board games, not like Sorry, Monopoly, stuff like that. We have a database that we have kept from the time these games have started years and years ago. There is every game, every player, every score. That way any of us can know at that exact moment what our chances of winning are with the given people that are playing. It's almost a sickness. But it doesn't matter what it is, I play to win. Whether it's a board game with my 5-year-old cousin, or a video game with my husband, or anything like that. We have a lot of 2-player games that we can play, Bananagrams, Ticket to Ride, things like that. And everything is a competition. No matter who we're with, we are both very competitive, and I want to win. Of course I'd be up to win. That's the whole point of doing this. It's not to say, oh yeah, I won next great baker. It's to win the cash. It's to win the chance to work with Buddy. I mean, that is life-changing in itself. That's probably more life-changing than the cash in reality, the experience that you get. Of course I want to win. That's why I'm here. Okay, I was thinking about this question, how far would I go to win? And I could not really come up with anything that I wouldn't do to win. I'm married, so I mean, there's some limits there. But unless it's like Brad Pitt. But I really could not come up with anything that I would not be willing to do in order to win this competition. If I had my choice, I would prefer to compete head to head. I feel like in teams, sometimes you can have a weak link and it can hold you back. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So if I have my choice, sure, it'd be head to head. Because I know if I fail, it was my own fault. And I feel like then I'm a stronger competitor because I know exactly what kind of oomph I'm willing to give for this. I would say I can put on a good act when I'm working with people that I don't like. For the most part. I mean, I work for a corporation as my day job, and there's a lot of personalities that I deal with on a daily basis. Some are easy to get along with, some not so much. And I would say those that are not so easy to get along with would not know that I don't like them. Now, there is a line, and if you cross the line, you very much know that I don't like you. There's no question about it. I become evil. I would say my overall personality, first and foremost, is the type A personality. I think anybody that knows me would say the same thing. I can get a little quirky when I get competitive because I do like to win, and that's just a nice way of saying that I can get a little mean. I would say overall, I handle stressful situations okay. Sometimes things go wrong with cakes, but the client can never know. And in my day job, when I'm dealing with customers and people that are higher up the food chain than I am, sometimes things go wrong and you cost the company money and you get pulled in about it. And you really have to keep your cool under these kinds of situations and not get emotional at all. My cake decorating and baking means a lot to me. It's where I pour my heart and soul. My day job is not exactly creative by any means. So this is my creative outlet and my stress outlet. Whenever you get a bad day, you just come home and whip up a cake. And you get to try a lot of new techniques, and it's really enjoyable and a lot of fun. And it gets me through every long winter in Northeast Ohio. The reason I would like to be on The Next Great Baker, there's a couple reasons. First of all, I love cake decorating, and I think this is an amazing experience in order to learn from the best in the field. If you do win and you get to train with Buddy, that's just priceless right there, what I'd be able to learn. And second, hey, $100,000 doesn't hurt anyone. Who wouldn't want that? It would help promote my business for sure. To be able to say that I was even on the show, let alone the fact to win, there's a lot of factors in there that would really drive a person to want to win. I think I should be picked for The Next Great Baker because I am an extremely driven person. I always want to win, and it's a competition. So basically, you really need competitive people, and I am extremely competitive. I think you would have a very hard time to find someone that is more competitive than I am. And I can decorate. This is one of the display cakes that I have done for bridal shows and consultations when I hold them. It's a 5-tiered square cake. Altogether, there's quite a bit of time in this cake. It took me about an hour in order to cover the tiers, and then there was the time to do the quilling on it, and then the royal icing. This is the first time I had done stenciling, so that took about an hour. I was doing it very slowly to make sure it was correct. There are a lot of sugar flowers on this cake. A couple hundred, I'm not exactly sure how many, but it took me about 10 hours to do the flowers. Each one is dusted individually to give it a more realistic look. And then it was probably another hour to do the leaves. Once again, those are dusted individually, and then I put a glaze on them to give them a nice shiny look like leaves have. The monogram I like doing monograms on cakes. I think it gives it a nice personal touch for the couple. In this case, I did C for Christina. So altogether, there is quite a few hours in this cake, but there is a lot of sugar work on it. Okay, in the next 5 minutes, I am going to decorate this plain sugar cookie with hydrangea flower and leaves. 0 time, starting now. Okay, we're just gonna take this. We're gonna roll it out, nice and thin. Oh my goodness, a text message. Okay, we got leaf 1. And leaf 2. I can put this aside. Now I'm gonna put a little bit of color on them to make it more like a real leaf. Color. So 1 and 2. Okay, I'll put a little bit of water on the back to glue them down to my cookie. 1 and 2. And now I'll do the flower. dust this really well so it doesn't stick to my cutout or anything. And I'm going to go with the smaller one. Make sure it's dusted. Lay it in here. And we'll evade it. Okay, perfect. Now, I'm going to take my colors. We're going to do a blue. And we're kind of going to, not quite so much, kind of just dust in the centers here. Give it a more natural look. I'm going to take the darker one and just highlight around the edges here and there, just like a real flower would be. Soften it up a little bit. Take a little purple, hit the other side with it. There's always several colors on these kinds of flowers. Put a little blue behind the center there. Now we're going to take this a little bit more. Roll it into a ball. Yeah, it's a good size. So it doesn't stick to me. And I'm going to take my knife here and cut a little crisscross pattern on it. Get a little bit more predominant. And we'll take a little bit of glue here, right in the center, and pop this in there. There we go. And gently lift it up. Make sure it's not sticking anywhere. And glue it down. Squish it though. And we'll put a little flower right here. Make sure the leaves still have their curve. Just want to put a little bit more purple on it. Dust the center a little. Make sure it's got shape. It's glued down and stop. 4 minutes, 51 seconds. Finished sugar.